This is not what I expected to find inside the moon. Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. In the last part, we finished off the final side quest around Termina and then went after to confront Skull Kid and things a little awry. And now we're inside the moon, which is a very pretty planescape with a giant tree. And if we look around, there's people wearing the various boss masks in the game. Will you play with me? No. You're a boring kid. Saying yes to that triggers the final boss fight, but like I said, there are 4 other miniature versions of the Happy Mask Salesman for some reason, wearing the various boss masks around him. We want to talk to them in order to complete this area and get the final reward, so to speak. Also, I should note, the footage we saw at the end of last time, with the moon landing, that's from the first 2-day cycle again. Ah, nice weather, isn't it? Masks, you have a lot. You too. Will you be a mask salesman? Then I'll play with you. So, the masks. Give me some. So in order to access the little sub-areas of inside the moon, you need to give the various boss mask-wearing people the masks we've collected across our journey. So let's try to give him, I guess, the Deku mask and the postman's hat. Not that! Hurry, put it away. Can't give them any of the transformation masks, though. Thanks. You're a nice person, aren't you? Hide and seek. Let's play. Alright, I'll hide. So, the individual subsections of the moon are all references to the mechanics and visuals of the dungeons in question. So for this Deku section, we have a lot of Deku flower usages. With that said, each of the final 4 pieces of heart are all present here within the moon, 1 per section, usually revolving around using the transformation masks to their utmost. But also notably, if we use the Mask of Truth to talk to the Stones of Truth around here, the mystical stone responds to the mask and speaks to you, but its words are heard in secret. It seems Cremia, the owner of Romani Ranch, had Romani's mask. If you're missing masks in the game, and you don't know who to go to or where they could be, the Sheikah stones across the inside of the moon hint towards their locations. Not that nowadays, for me at least, I need to use that, but if for some reason you're missing one in particular, it's not a bad tool to use, especially back in the day, you know, before we had GameFAQs, or YouTube, or NeoSeeker, or any of the various walkthroughs online to help with stuff like this. Now, notably, getting the piece of heart in each one of these areas is technically a secret, and you do need to keep an eye on your environment to figure out how to do it. For instance, in order to get either to the exit or to the piece of heart here, we need to use the yellow Deku flower to get a higher launch. I think this is a really interesting idea for a final area, although it is very... I'm not going to say anticlimactic, it's very... I guess the word I'm looking for is either short or too to the point. Because there's no real, like, rising climax here. You can go straight to the final boss. You could theoretically end the game 5 minutes after that last cutscene that we ended last part on. And while I guess this is very representative of the game as a whole in that regard, with how much of it is technically optional, I think they could have done something here to at least make more of a final dungeon kind of thing. I love this game. The end game is real cool, but I think it's also a part where it definitely seems to not fall apart, but fall short, I guess is the phrasing I want to use here. Like, I think my favorite end game in a 3D Zelda is either between Twilight Princess for some scale reasons. The visuals of Skyward Swords is so striking. And Tears has a little bit of both of those combined. Breath of the Wild's had some scale as well, but it didn't feel quite as good as any of the others. Ocarina's is nice as well. You found me. Hey, I want more masks. Alright, take the All Knights mask then. Thanks, you're nice. Can I ask a question? Your friends, what kind of people are they? I wonder, do those people think of you as a friend? There's all sorts of readings people have done into the philosophical questions we get asked throughout here. I'm not really here to think about them, mostly because I think to an extent it's just because it seems like not interesting things to ponder at this point in the game, given the mask concept of identity and all that. Also, if memory serves, I have no way to prove this from memory, but if you look at this area from the sky with the tree in the center, it makes the Sheikah eye, I believe. Alright, so let's go talk to Goat now. Hey, come back here, kid. Ah, nice weather, isn't it? Masks, you have a lot. You too. Will you be a mask salesman? Then I'll play with you, so the masks. Give me some. And he wants more. Each of the respective bosses wants more and more masks. You give a total of 2 to the Odalwa one, and we need to give a total of 4 before and after the area. We need to give Georg 6, and we need to give Twin Mold 8, adding up to all 20. Thanks. You're a nice person, aren't you? Hide and seek. Let's play. Alright, I'll hide. The Snowhead section of Inside the Moon is probably the fan least favorite, if only because it's the most execution heavy. This is a gigantic, long area of Goron rolling and bouncing off of chests to get to the end. And if you fall, you have to start all over. And back here, unless you take advantage of a certain trick I'm going to show off in a moment. Because after every single jump, by and large, especially early on, if you're not confident, you can stop and step on these little teleporters that send you back to the start. And these will send you to a place that is just in the perfect space that if you hold directly forward on the analog stick until you get the spiky roll and then let go of the analog stick, you will get to the early sections of this no problem. The big thing is letting go of the analog stick, because that allows you to roll completely straight forward. Your momentum is carried no matter what. You do want to stop rolling, though, after about this jump, because it allows you to skip at least one jump, because this first one where you have to kind of move the analog stick's a little rough. But on top of that, it's also the one that is probably the easiest in concept to get the piece of heart in compared to finding the exit, because you actively need to break from the main path to get the exit. But you need to reach the end of the jump path to get the piece of heart here. This gave me a lot of shit as a kid, but nowadays, it's not too bad. It's mostly just the first couple of rolls that are kind of rough. Because a lot of the later ones are in wide enough straightaways that you don't need to worry about getting bounced the wrong way. And they do technically let you practice the bounce before this, as I mentioned all the way back before we entered Snowhead, by rolling up the little ramp up into that dungeon. But that's so far out of the way that it's not really worthy in my eyes of that, because that's the only time they really make you actually use the bounce. I guess in that regard, maybe they could have used the concept of the Goron roll bouncing off of things a bit more in Snowhead itself to maybe prep you for this, but it's so minor and it's optional at the end of the day anyway, I guess, unless you're going for 100%. So, it's time to give the Goat Kid some more masks. So let's just pile through what we got. You found me. Hey, I want more masks. Here's this one. More. Thanks, you're nice. Can I ask a question? What makes you happy? I wonder, what makes you happy? Does it make others happy too? Well, I certainly hope it does, because I generally like things people like, but at the same time, given how online discourse especially seems to work, people seem to treat objective opinions as moral obligations sometimes, it feels like. Thankfully, since you never need to give up the Goron mask, you always have the Goron roll to get around this area quickly, but I like to use the bunny hood later on, if only because rolling through here just feels weirdly too violent for it. Ah, nice weather, isn't it? Masks, you have a lot. You too. Will you be a mask salesman? Then I'll play with you. So, the masks, give me some. So we need to give the Georg kid 3 masks to start. And I'm not giving him the bunny hood just to hold on to it for last by and large. So, screw off, Pigma. Thanks. You're a nice person, aren't you? Hide and seek. Let's play. Alright, I'll hide. So, the Great Bay section is the one that got the most changes to the 3DS release. Here in the N64 version, it's a maze where you need to pick directions from branching pathways to find either the kid or the piece of heart. To get the piece of heart, you can go left, left, right, left, left, right, left, left, or right, left, left, left. To find the kid, you need to go left, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, or right, left, left, right. But in the 3DS version, it is a set layout, where the wrong ends take you to teleports back to the entrance. But you also have to contend with timer switches and use the Zora jump out of the water at certain points to reach certain platforms to actively reach the kid. For instance, I think to get to the goal in the 3DS version, you need to take a left and then a right, but then you have to contend with altitude. If you go through the middle, I think that's where the piece of heart is. But if you jump out of the water up to the top area, that's where the kid is in 3DS. Even though I don't like the 3DS changes to Zora itself, I like the 3DS changes to this area. If only because that feels more consistent with actively using the moveset rather than just figuring your way out around a maze. You found me. Hey, I want more masks. Alright. Take a cow. Take a mask that's useless in the N64 version. And this child's face. I think you need one of those. Thanks, you're nice. Can I ask a question? The right thing, what is it? I wonder, if you do the right thing, does it really make everybody happy? That's starting to get into a lot of gray areas at that point, kid. So now all we have left is the twin mold area, and then we'll be by and large done with the dungeon portion of the final dungeon. It's an interesting concept, and I think this is a very unique final area, but again, it just lacks, I think, a lot of presence despite the unique, striking visual main core area to it. But at the same time, in some ways, given how this game is with a lot of its visuals, it probably couldn't have ended any other way in some regards. Nice weather, isn't it? Masks, you have a lot. You too, will you be a mask salesman? And I'll play with you, so the masks, give me some. And we need to give Twin Mold 4. I guess an interesting concept they could have explored here, potentially. I brought up earlier that I maybe wish there were 5 dungeons in the game before the final area for 5 Great Fairy rewards. What they could have done to make it interesting is make this area the 5th dungeon and make it completely optional, because then the 5th Stray Fairy reward could be what we get for giving all these mask-wearing kids the masks we've gotten throughout the game. And at that point, you could do a completely unique, more, I guess, in line with the visuals of the moon in some regards, more in line with an actual final area for the end game here inside the moon. But then there's a whole thing of, where would you place that dungeon? What kind of 5th area would you add and all that jazz? It's complicated. So, weirdly, the Stone Tower section of Inside the Moon is more reflective of the shrine behind the waterfall in that it's a mini-boss rush. We have to fight a Dynalfalse, a Garo Master, and an Iron Knuckle all in a row. We also have to start contending with switches eventually as well. Kinda weird, but I guess they probably can figure out a way to use like light arrows to some good effect here that isn't what they already did back in Stone Tower. On top of that, since there wasn't a real transformation mask for Stone Tower, there's not a whole ability set they could program it around, so I guess they decided, alright, this will be the Hylian Link section where you need to really understand the way the mini-bosses work. I do love the visuals of this particular subsection, though, if only because there's literally nothing else in the game that looks like this. And it makes me wonder if this was like a tile set they meant for another dungeon, they couldn't use it, so they were just like, alright, let's put it in the moon then. We get arrows there. You do need them to hit some eye switches to finish this area off, so good luck there. But if you ever are seemingly screwed out of stuff, you can play the Song of Time to go back in time. But you'll have to start this entire area over again because you have to get all your masks to the kids again. which is kind of rough, but it's not that big of a deal at the end of the day because of how short those areas are, especially once you already have the pieces of heart. Alright, with that iron knuckle out of the way, the chest will spawn down here. We can't hookshot our way up there this time. Instead, we have to use the only item type I have yet to get in the game. You got 10 bombchu! Set them to the C buttons on the select item screen. Press C to arm one of these while climbing bombs. Press C again to make them run. So bombchus, like they did in the bombchu bowling at Honey and Darling shop in this game and in the bombchu bowling shop in the last game, they're bombs that move forward and explode after a timer. I recommend waiting about 2.5, 3.5 flashes before placing them down to explode that part of the wall up there, which will open up an eye statue. And I think both this room and the next room, which we're also going to need to use a bombchu in, I think they put stones of truth in very specific positions, so that if you run out of bombchus, you can, say, hit them with a normal bomb to make them detonate and fly into the ceiling to destroy the panels in question. But here in the N64 version, no such luck. And there's our final piece of heart. We've assembled new heart container. Your maximum life has been increased to a maximum of 20 hearts with double defense. That's technically 100%. There is the last mask to get, but we're gonna get that for finishing this off anyway. Also, here's a nice little thing. If you play the Song of Storms in front of a Stone of Truth, they drop a fairy. Basically the only time I thought to show that off, if only because I don't really need fairies in this game. Death is not a big punishment in this game, like I think I mentioned earlier in the LP. A death in this game is only counted if you get a real game over by the moon crashing. Deaths otherwise are treated the same as just void outs, but you lose more health. Because I think you start back at 3 hearts, I want to say? So in here we need to use another bombchu. Again, 2.5, 3.5 blips, let it go and it should be fine. Especially considering the hitbox on the wall you need to destroy is pretty forgiving. And then we just need to use some fire arrows, and then we'll be talking to the twin mold kid again. Alright. This is gonna be the last of our masks that we can give, but here's hoping it's worth it. Good old Stone of Truth mask, Captain's mask, Giant's mask, and the bunny hood. You found me. Hey, I want more masks. Sure thing. More. 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 Alright, fine. It's the last one I got, kid. Thanks. You're nice. Can I ask a question? Your true face. What kind of face is it? I wonder, the face under the mask. Is that your true face? Good question. But with that, I'm gonna need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 32, let's see if we can bring a new dawn. See you guys then.